Welcome to Powered by Her, exploring the stories of how area women power their business. Hear from the growing network of female entrepreneurs of the Upper Cumberland with your host, Tiffany Anton, director at the Biz Foundry. Powered by Her starts now.
Hello, you're listening to Powered by Her in the Hint and Oakley Podcast Center. I'm Tiffany Anton with the Biz Foundry, and I have one of my favorite podcast hosts today, Amber Flynn-Jared, with me. Hi, Amber.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Thank you for coming. I'm so excited.
How did I know that was coming?
In honor of Zach Buckner, we will say that we're so excited. So, Amber is a realtor in town, and you have a property management company, and you started your own. You work for the realty firm.
I do.
But you started your own Jared group.
Yes, a team.
As a subset of the realty firm. So you kind of do all things real estate.
That's right. Absolutely.
So let's kind of go back. How, as a kid, what kind of characteristics do you think you saw in yourself that led you to where you're at today?
Okay, so that's so funny because we always say, like, no child grows up saying, I want to be a real estate agent when I grow up. And I'm no different. That was definitely not on my radar. In fact, I think I was in high school before my parents bought their first home.
Oh, wow.
I was a military brat, so moved all around, and we were in base housing most of that time, and always were renting or there. So it was not something that I was really exposed to as a child. But I've always been super gregarious. I love people. Probably moving around, every 2 years and having to make new friends probably helped a little bit with that. But I always wanted to be like one of my first, what you want to be when you grow up, when you're doing the MASH game, or whatever. An attorney. I wanted to be an attorney. I think because I liked to argue and debate.
Yes, I was told that at some points in my life too.
But little did I know that's not really all that an attorney actually does. Very little of that. Yes. It's a lot of the other stuff. So, as a child, I think mainly, I just fell in love with people, and I never really kind of saw myself in a sales position for sure. Cause I hate sales, and we can get into a little bit more of that.
That's actually what I was going to say is were you, cause real estate is sales. So were you the kid that was trying to peddle their things on the playground?
Absolutely not.
Nothing like that. You just liked the connections you were the kid that was passing all the notes in school.
That's right. Exactly. Well, and I kind of go against the grain of your traditional real estate gurus and the coaches and trainers in real estate that make it about sales. Real estate's not about sales to me. Real estate's about relationships, and it just so happens that I'm trying to help you find the home of your dreams. And I know that sounds kind of cliche and whatever, but it's really 100%, what it's all about. The second I try to sell you a piece of property, there's going to be something in you that turns off because of the culture that we have now. Sales is kind of got a negative connotation, to it. And I feel like anytime somebody's trying to sell me something, I've got internal walls that are going up right away, trying to punch holes, in this. So for me, I'm a real estate consultant, and just, helping people to sell their largest capital investment or, acquire the next one that's going to be the best for their family.
It's so interesting on this podcast, the women that I've had so far, and they've been ranged from,
all my favorites, all my favorites. Starting
a nonprofit, for special needs families, or running a t-shirt printing business, or running a boutique. Every one of them feel like they're helping people.
Yeah.
They don't look at their business as, I'm selling people a house, or, I'm helping people find their dream home. I'm helping people find an outfit that makes them feel special. Do you think that is the people that I pick? Or do you think that, am I drawn to just people that are helping people?
Sure.
Or is it that we as women just have that innate in us to help people?
Well, I think, we're natural nurturers. I think God puts that in us, for a reason, because we need to not kill our offspring. And so that's where, it begins probably biologically. But I also think that, those people are the ones that rise to the top. They're the cream of the crop. They're the ones that you naturally gravitate to because they are open to sharing their ideas. They are, willing to mentor other people. They are, trying to be a part of a bigger community, which is one of the most awesome things that we've got, here in Cookeville, the entrepreneur community, business owner community, and just overall, the community feel as a whole is unlike anywhere else I've ever lived. And, that's why we put roots down, here, even though, when we moved here for school, we thought we'd, go back home. And I just fell in love with this place and was like, okay, this is where I'm not leaving unless, they're taking me out in a pine box kind of deal.
If you had to pick one thing about the entrepreneur community in Cookeville, Tennessee, that somebody wants to emulate what we had, what would that one ingredient be? What's our special secret sauce?
Okay, so I think one of the things, that's a huge question. We could get into, you don't have enough time on this podcast to cover all of those things. One of the things that I think that we have that probably is not necessarily duplicatable, we all play well in the sandbox together. And the fact that our city government and our county government plays well with the university, the hospital, all of the big players, and make it a very friendly place for business, then allows an emergence of groups like the Biz Foundry, where now we've got a place where we can all kind of come together and conglomerate. And it's, I think what I love, and again, maybe it's the people that I gravitate towards, it's the rising tide lifts all boats.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. And you see, there's even though okay, take my profession, for example, there are almost 500 agents in our MLS.
I was going to say 7,000.
Yeah. It feels like 7,000. I feel like you could throw a ball and hit 5 agents. Everybody knows, at least 5, if not more. And it's unlike any other business that I've ever been a part of, because your competitors are also your colleagues. It's that co-opetition where you have to figure out, how am I going to, try to beat this person out, quote unquote, for a listing or to work with this buyer. But then I'm going to have to turn around and work with them if they bring me an offer on said listing,
right,
or whatever. So being able to find an environment where you do have a lot of, competing, quote unquote, businesses, and finding your niche within that to be able to everybody play together in the sandbox. That's something I think is really super unique to our community.
How do you personally deal with, so there is a lot of competitiveness in this, in the market that you work in.
Yeah.
How do you keep yourself in check and play nice? Because I would imagine, I'm not in the realty world here, but I would imagine it is cutthroat and catty, because it seems like it has to be.
Sure. And I thought that when I first got into the business, well, actually it's what kept me out of the business. I had thought about getting into it for a few years before I did, but I thought that's just so not my personality, and I'm just really much more laid back. I don't, cutthroat is not in my repertoire, so I'm not going to do that, because that's what I'd always heard about real estate. But really, in all honesty, it's not like that. Sure, you have your few people, that you just kind of know when you're doing a deal with them to sort of watch your back a little bit. But all in all, the vast majority of the real estate community here realizes that we've got to be able to work together. You and I have the same goal of bringing this contract to the closing table. And if we can't play nice together to make that happen, guess what? Neither one of us gets paid.
Right.
And it's one of those things that really, it's a mindset issue. And if you come at it from the mindset, of plenty, of abundance, and not scarcity. If you go into a business like this with a scarcity mindset, you're done before you ever get started. And so it really has to be, and I truly believe this with all of my heart, there is plenty enough business to go around for all 500 of us real estate agents to be successful. There is not just a limited supply. If God pours out success on this agent over here, then it's taking away from me. I couldn't sell a house to everybody in the Upper Cumberland if I wanted to.
Yeah.
It's just not physically possible. So it's really, there's plenty to go around, and having that mindset instead of holding tight onto everything that so much so that you choke the life out of it. For me, that's 100% where it begins.
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about how you came to start into the realty firm in a second. You're listening to Powered by Her in the Hints and Oakley Podcast Center. I'm Tiffany Anton with the Biz Foundry, and I have Amber Flynn-Jared from the realty firm. And so you didn't go to school to become a realtor. You decided you were going to stay out of real estate for a while. And you found a mentor that kind of took you under her wing and said, you can do this.
Absolutely. So kind of found myself in 2011. I went through a divorce. I had always stayed at home with my kids. I'd been a stay-at-home mom. I found myself unemployed. With no resume, no college degree. really no kind of knowledge of what to do next. And then because it's in the actually non-existent, middle-aged, okay-looking white woman's guide to divorce, I went back to school because that's what you're supposed to do, right? And through that process, really, it was good for me. It was exactly what I needed to do. My tech family was just incredible and really kind of gave me what I needed confidence wise, and just knowing that you can accomplish something that difficult. Single mom, was working 3 jobs, put myself through school, broke as a joke, basically checking off all of the boxes of winning at life. Yeah, that was me. And I was working at the realty firm. I had my license, but was basically just doing it as a hobby. Because going into 100% commission-based business, as a single mom was terrifying. I mean, like there's no way that I could do that. I mean, that was just, I needed a stable job with benefits and, a steady income. And even though maybe it was a meager salary, it was at least better than what I was scraping together with all 3 jobs combined. But it just so happened, Natalie Stout, one of the owners of the realty firm, one day I'll never forget where we were sitting in the office, and she said, I'm going to need to get some full-time help. I'm just covered up. There's just no way, I can keep doing this. And I said, I'll do it, just out of nowhere. And so began our relationship, and I came alongside of her first as her assistant, and then, as an agent on her team. And she finally had to kick me out of the nest after I was doing probably about $12 million worth of volume. She was like, girlfriend, you need to be out on your own. I would love to just, go ahead and glean off of you all these years.
Let's talk about that, getting on your own and starting the Jared group. So, you started off by being able to kind of have a mentor there, be under someone's wing. What made you decide to start your own?
Oh, 100% was Natalie. I didn't want to start my own. Yeah. I would probably still be on her team right now if it was up to me. But, that's the thing about mentors and putting yourself in a place where you have people who have freedom to speak into your life. When she said to me, you've got to make this next step. You're truncating yourself. You're limiting yourself. I see this in you. And anytime you've got people around you who can see the gold in you that you can't see yourself, all of us need a little extra push sometimes. And that was what I needed. And she kind of gave me the confidence that I didn't have, in myself to be able to do that. I owe so much of this to her.
So what did you do? So what were your first steps on actually getting out on your own?
Well, when I stopped crying and was like, okay, I can do this. Because it seems like every beginning, there's this fear of the next step. It's the unknown, right? It's what all of us face as business owners. And there were a couple of agents that were already there that were learning and were a part of the team that she said, okay, this is your team and here you go. And then we're going to figure this out together. And so we did. And it's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of, going ahead, a lot of sleepless nights, So
how does it work? You're still work for the realty firm.
Right. So everybody in a real estate company is a 1099 employee. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so we're all subcontractors. Natalie is not my boss. Kim is not my boss. They have these subcontractors that work for them. So the way that it's set up, they allow you to have your subsets where you can have your team where you're raising up other agents underneath you.
Is it kind of like an MLM?
I mean, no, not really. It is more kind of like a mentorship program. And then because of that, there is financial reciprocation for the time and the knowledge that you're pouring into the next generation of agents. But to me, it's a give back. Like I love that part of my team. And you could do research on real estate teams like all day long, and no one wants to because it's extremely boring reading. But nobody else really structures their team like I do. Mine is very agent focused. It's really most teams are about how the team leader can leverage other people to make themselves the most amount of money. For us, it really is built like a mentorship program. They keep a lot more of their commissions than any other team structure I've ever heard of. And the reason that is again, it's the rising tide lifts all boats. So to me, I'm, being able to pour into the next group of agents that comes is my give back to an industry that has completely changed my life. I mean, going from like I said, I had less than $50 to my name when I jumped into real estate full time. And now I'm able to groom these agents that when they go out on their own, they're knowledgeable, they've got high integrity, they are, functioning members of society who are giving back to their community. It's incredible.
Have you thought about completely going out on your own and having your own building and having...
Yeah, no.
You're still...
Actually, I have thought about it, and the answer is no. And honestly, if you're going to look at the numbers on paper, I'm probably going to do $20 million worth of volume this year. If you look at the split of what is an average, and everybody that's, if you're listening to this and you're an agent, you know what that is. The money that I'm giving back into the realty firm is not a small number, but there is no way that I could put a figure to what I have there. The support that they offer to us through, the admin support that's there for sure. But the family that I have, those people are my family. Mm-hmm. And to me, there is no reason to go out. It is not the financial gain that would be there would never be enough to make up for the village that I have. Which
is pretty important.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about what sets you apart in a second. You're listening to Powered by Her in the Hints and Oakley Podcast Center. I have Amber Flynn-Jared here with the Realty Group and Realty Firm, the Jared Group.
Good catch.
So we talked about this a little bit ago, there's tons of realtors in town. And what sets you apart, I think, a little bit is that you have a lot of side things that you do. Mm-hmm. So a couple years ago, you decided to start your own podcast called Connecting Cookeville. Mm-hmm. Had, from the surface, nothing to do with real estate.
Right.
So take me through that decision to start this, put your own money into it.
Sure.
Find your own crew that, motley crew a little bit.
It's the truth.
That, comes with their microphones and, and you were recording in your office at first and you just record kind of wherever.
Right.
Take me through that decision to start something like that. And the business aspect of that.
Sure.
Let's be honest. There was some business decisions in doing that.
Oh, of course. So first of all, my overall business plan is rooted around three things. It's social media, social circles, and social proof. And so what that means, and again, probably we're going to be truncated on time of what we can really get into. But a huge part of my business has been built through social media. It just so happens that I have a lot of relationships, but that's an easy way to maintain it. And it gives you, of course, your advertising avenues and whatnot. The social proof aspect is about, everybody can post pictures of sold and I sold this house and, this many offers and so many hours and whatever. But for me, I like to tell the story. Every person that sits at a closing table, that's a family. That's a life change. That's somebody that I was able, to help. And this is how we served them. And this is how they saved this much money. And, this is who they are and their story, so to speak. And then the social circles is just being involved in the community as much as I possibly can. Of course, I love this community, so it's super easy. I always say, I'm the unpaid spokesperson ambassador for Cookeville. I really think the city should get on that. I don't know why they have not already offered me a full-time position, but it's fine. So in that...
I think you just keep tagging the city of Cookeville and everything. Isn't that what people do with other products? They just, Target, call me up.
Hey, call me. I got you. Yeah. So for me, again, I love this community so much, and it has built this beautiful framework for me to be able to succeed and have the business that I have, and raise two amazing children, here in this community, and my two amazing stepkids who've grown up here their whole entire lives. And so part of that is this community is comprised of these awesome individuals. It's everybody coming together, right, to build this community. So I had this idea, what if I'm a podcast junkie, okay, and, listen to all kinds of different ones. So I thought, what if you just had a community-centric podcast where you could bring on people? Because, guess what? Ricky Shelton is like a real person. And, like he has feelings and thoughts that are not, just Cookeville Mayor Ricky Shelton. He's also Ricky Shelton, who's married and has children and is like a functioning member of society, his own self, who just happens to be the mayor. And so when you get them into a place where they can tell their story and what makes them tick and, how they got to where they are, like, I think when people hear that, it's like an infusion of hope too, and so all of these like business leaders that they've seen, the president of tech or, Randy Porter, our county executive.
Jeff Brown, the Biz Foundry president.
Jeff Brown and Tiffany Anton as well. But lots of just community leaders, thought leaders, people who are doing amazing things in our community and highlighting them. That just kind of connects people all across the board. I said, really and truly, here's the thing. Like, let me get to the skinny of it. I'm not really good at anything. Or let me rephrase that. I'm good at a lot of stuff. I'm not really great at anything. But if I have a superpower, it is that I'm a community connector. Like, I might not can help you with your problem, but I know 3 people who could.
Yes.
And so that's my role to play in this community, is just like, let me use my relationships to help make your life better, whatever that looks like. I personally can't do it. I can't write you a check for $10,000, or I can't fix your leaky sink, or, whatever it is. But I know somebody who can.
So as entrepreneurs, it's like, well, I have to grow my business. I cannot do anything else. This is, I have a women's lunch that I do once a month, and it's 1 hour, and some women find it difficult to take that 1 hour away from their work.
Sure.
So how do you make that decision? Like, I'm going to do this podcast and it's going to take 5 hours a month of my time.
Right.
That you're not selling houses.
Nope.
You're not writing any deals. You're not showing people anything.
Yeah.
You're literally not doing anything for your business in those hours that you're kind of building this community.
Absolutely.
So how do you, in your entrepreneur mind, think that's, how do you think that's okay? I got my hand on my hip right now. How do you think that's okay? But explain to people, because people don't understand that.
Well, and again, if you're stuck in a sales mindset, you're not going to get it. What I tell my agents all the time is, this is a long game. If you're looking to make all of your money today, off of a deal, you're going to do whatever you have to do to keep that deal together, even if it's not in the best interest of your buyer or seller. For me, this is a long game. Maybe I help you get out of a deal that's going south, and then tomorrow you buy something else, you tell your sister, you tell your neighbor, you tell the 3 people at PTA, and you're going to make way more. If you're just looking at dollars and cents, you're going to make a lot more by doing the right thing by somebody than you are by convincing them that they're going to have to absolutely stick to this deal right here. Because then, you know what? You're going to make that money, but you're not making a dime off of them ever again, especially in a small town. So for me, relationships are revenue, and this is a long game. So, can you necessarily, people want to say that, well, can you track your stats? What are you making off of that? What's your ROI on that podcast? No, I don't know. That's not what I'm doing it for.
Right.
But I can promise you, as those people get to know me and they know who I am at my core as a person, the next time that they go out and somebody mentions real estate, I'm going to be top of mind. That's just how this works. And so as long as you don't stay short-sighted, take those blinders off and go into this as this is a long game. And as an entrepreneur, you've got to see it that way. As a business owner, you've got to see it that way.
How do you sort out? So you said, what's your ROI on this podcast? Which, it's like, no, you can't track that. How do you know? But so how do you figure out what are the things that I'm going to spend advertising dollars on because there is a flat out ROI on it, or I'm not going. So return on investment for those newer to the business world. Or no, I'm just going to do this because it feels right.
Yeah.
And so how do you make that balance?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great question. And the reason why is that you have to think about it. I guess, for me, one of the big things with real estate is we're all like squirrel, shiny object syndrome. There are a million trillion things that you can buy, programs and teachings and trainings and conferences and, whatever in the real estate space. And every industry, has their same things. And we all get drawn into it, from time to time. One of the biggest things in real estate in the last probably 5 years is buying leads. You can, get with Zillow or realtor.com or whatever, and then you pay them a certain portion and they're going to send you a promised number of leads. Well, I did that too in the beginning. I think everybody kind of goes through that. But then you have to realize, is that congruent with your total business model? And for me, it was 100% cold leads. And so I feel like I'm bugging somebody that I don't have a relationship with, that I don't know. And then I'm trying to sell myself. And it's just awkward. And it doesn't feel good to me. I'm not going to do what a lot of, the real estate gurus are going to tell you: cold call, get these robo dialers. You can call 500 people in 2 hours and go ahead and knock on every door in this subdivision. And, I'm just not going to do that. I mean, it's a golden rule thing for me. If I don't want somebody calling me, being a telemarketer, I'm sure as heck not going to be one to other people. It works for some people, and hey, what, to each your own. But I think you have to look at, again, with the bigger picture, your ROI may not be something that you can track immediately. But I always say is look, I'm still going to be selling real estate here in 10 years. So if this one doesn't work out today, look me up in 2 years from now or 10 years from now. I'm actually going on a listing appointment this afternoon with somebody that I worked with, I think 4 years ago. I had her house listed and we had to take it off the market because her husband got sick. And she said, "You're really not going to hold me to this contract?" I said, "Honey, you're going through a major, crisis in your family. What kind of a person would I be to hold you to a legal contract to make you sell your house and move your husband who's got cancer? Now he's in remission. He's doing great and they're ready to move on to the next phase of their life. But I can promise you, if I had held her to that contract, I wouldn't have sold the house then, probably, because it was a different market. And I certainly wouldn't be getting her business now."
Right. And she probably wouldn't have told, 10 people the story that, wow, this realtor, she, was compassionate to us. Do you think that as women, we kind of have that compassion part that gives us a leg up on the men a little bit?
I'd like to think so. Although I've met some women in this business who not so much.
Yes. We're going to wrap this up in a second. We could go on and on and on, but you're listening to Powered by Her in the Hinson Oakley Podcast Center. I'm Tiffany Anton with the Biz Foundry. I feel like we're such fast talkers, Amber.
I know, right? They may have to slow this down.
I really was like, we're getting through all, and I'm like that too. People are always like, slow down,
take a breath.
Are you a northerner?
I am not. I'm actually a Westerner.
You're an Army girl.
Yeah, so. That's right. But all my mom's family is from California.
Okay.
So they definitely have a much slower pace of life. So I don't know where I picked up this, I think it's just natural personality problems.
All right. So what advice do you have to people just wanting to start a business? Or, I mean, you do a lot of women empowerment kind of things, and you really are truly, you have love for this community, but just women in general, of lifting each other up. So what advice do you have for women out there that are thinking about starting a business, or maybe having some life decisions that, are causing them to kind of get out there and do something else?
Oh, yeah. Well, and I guess basically it kind of goes down to, it's like, find your tribe. I think that's it's becoming more and more popular, here lately, that you're hearing people say this, and it's like, it's okay not to be an island and be out there trying to figure this out on your own, because I can promise you, no matter what you're going through, somebody else has already been there. Somebody else has already experienced this major life catastrophe, or starting over, or beginning a business, whatever it is. And there is not enough that I can say about finding people who are willing to invest in you. And I think what a lot of people struggle with, and especially women, because we tend to be a little bit more insecure when it comes into the business mindset field, is that we're afraid to ask. And I can honestly not think of a single strong, independent, entrepreneurial woman in this community who is not open to people asking questions. Call them up, say, can I take you to coffee? Can I take you to lunch? Can I pick your brain? Most likely, they're probably going to buy your coffee or buy your lunch and be happy to share the bits and pieces that they've learned, along the way. And that's for me. I'm a sponge. I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I want to know, how did you do it? Where did you come up against some failures? What did you do?
I think the important part of that too is be that way too. Be the person that you want others to be
Absolutely.
to you. So, you know, being able to pour into others when other don't think that you don't have something to offer other people.
Yeah.
Because you just never know what they're looking for. So anything else? How can people find you?
You can find us, goodness gracious, all over the interwebs.
So Amber Flynn-Jared.
Amber Flynn-Jared on Facebook, Instagram, the Jared Group. Call us up at the realty firm or on my personal cell phone, 931-510.
Oh, wow.
3716. Give me a buzz. And about any of this. Not just real estate related. Like, I really do, just have a passion to see, this community continue to grow and flourish like it is. And the reason that it is as amazing as it is because of the people that make it up. So,
yeah. So people can connect with you on social media. I think that's a great aspect of your business model is the social media aspect. Yeah. You're real, you're genuine out there.
Just say, if you go to my personal Facebook page, just be ready to really know me on a new level.
And you'll put your personal business out there in order to help people.
Absolutely. It's my diary. Writing is cathartic to me. It is part of the way that I express myself. And I think that through that, other people can kind of find themselves also and be like, oh, I can connect on that level. One of my mentors told me one time, no one can relate to your strengths, but everyone can relate to your weakness. And so when we're just real, and we're just vulnerable, we're just out there just being me, then I think in that, somebody else can kind of see like, wow, she's a real person. And hey, I struggle with that too. And like, we're going to overcome. It's cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming in today. It was a pleasure to have you.
Yeah. I wish we could go for like another 2 hours.
On the other side of this, you've listened to Powered by Her and the Hints in Oakley Podcast Center. Thank you for joining me, Amber.
Thank you.